Not sure if I'm live. Okay then. Just waiting to see if you guys are coming in. Alright, cool. So let's just get it going again in the chat. So I'm here with the match reaction for the United versus Burnley game. As you guys have seen, there are some worrying signs. Worrying signs from this match. For starters, this is obviously the phrase I've coined on this channel, which has been the blood diamond formation, and it's been back in full effect during this game. This formation has been attempted to be played under several different managers at Manchester United, with similar results each time this formation they try to implement it. It just does not work. We do not have the quality, the caliber, and the tactical assembly of players to be able to make this formation work, because it requires a certain profile to make it look anywhere near decent, because it is a difficult formation to play in the modern game where fullbacks and wing play is very important. So if a lot of work isn't done to protect the fullbacks, and the fullbacks themselves don't do a lot of work, it's very difficult, and the midfield can get exposed like that, and we saw that versus Brighton. Now, of course, the main differences between a Burnley and a Brighton is very simply the quality. Yes, Brighton aren't exactly a Man City, a Liverpool, or an Arsenal, but they do have good enough players to hurt Manchester United, especially with the defensive issues we've had at the moment. Why did Ten Hag leave it so late to not make changes? As much as I said in the beginning that, yo, look, I am giving Ten Hag time, of course, because there are many issues outside of just what he's doing. There are issues with injuries, there are issues with the structure above him, there's issues with players, there's issue with actually dissent going on in that changing room too. There's a whole concoction of things. However, if we strip all of that back and look at today in isolation, overall I would say it was definitely poor from the manager. Of course, before I go on to the issues and the things I'm still worried about after this game has finished, I must comment firstly on the fact that we've won the game. We've got the 3 points, which is very big, getting some points on the table, given we still need, as United fans, at least something to hold on to. We don't want a situation where by Christmas we're telling each other that, yo, top 4 is a complete write-off. Who knows, the EFL Cup is coming. Are we going to be able to defend our trophy next season, for this season? We won it last year. Are we going to be able to mount any decent defense of that trophy? So these are questions that need asking. And in terms of how we're performing on the pitch itself, take away the injury concerns, take away everything going on potentially in the changing room. The way we performed today against a team that's relegation ready was not it. Just wasn't it. The choice to play this formation, even though we were poor, it tells you all you need to know. Against footballing sides that are quite decent in terms of how they move the ball, we will get exposed time and time again with this setup. Difference between Burnley and Brighton, they have players that can actually punish you. Mitoma can punish you. Ansu Fati can punish you. João Pedro came on, he punished us. Pascal Gross. They've got enough decent players that can actually do something to you when they create their chances from their good bits of play. Whereas these guys, Burnley, are toothless up front because they have very much championship standard ballers in their front line, whereas Brighton have some good level, Premier League level caliber players in their front line. That's why we caught life today. A couple of times they got in behind and they had the chance where they hit the post. Guys should have scored. They had the chance where they had to loft the ball over the top to their striker, who took a poor first touch, and Onana was able to come and smother the ball. But this is where their quality was lacking. And then that's where we caught life. Not because we defend, not because of us. That was purely on them. I believe a decent team absolutely puts us to the sword today. The way we played with this diamond formation. So a lot must be said on the manager that how can a championship standard team bop us off the park from pretty much minute 1 to minute 90, have anywhere from 60 to 70% possession of the ball, and we're not able to create chances, we're not able to hold the ball, we're not able to string 2 passes together. Again, for any new people entering into the match reaction, before you start to assume that I'm Ten Hag out, it's nothing to do with that. It's about talking on this game in isolation. If we take a look at some of the positives, for example, the main one that of course sticks out is the goal from Bruno. The goal from Bruno was absolutely phenomenal. It was shades of the Bruno we used to see, who first came to the club, who was absolutely, he was sort of our maverick, our talisman. A lot of people, I would say at that time, very much saw him as our favourite player. I mean, fast forward a little bit, people are seeing him as one of the biggest problems at the club, but that just shows you how far the club has fallen. Even compared to, we weren't even good then, but we're fallen, you could say, in some spaces, further than even when Bruno first arrived. So it was nice to see his shooting boots back on. But a lot of his passing, again, it was wayward. It's almost as if he's not being able to be the player he was before. He's either going to be shooting is good, passing is off, or passing is good, but shooting is off. His numbers were high for goals and assists, dropped to be more goals, less assists. Then it went for more assists, less goals. Now it seems as if at times he's doing neither. I need to see him start to come back into the player that we used to see before. Because right now, at times, he looks like he's more detrimental. Ball comes to him, he has an opportunity to sort of give a decent pass, and he just hoofs it. Don't know why he did that so many times today. It's just Burnley we're playing against. 1 minute, guys. It's just Burnley we're playing against, and yet he felt the need to do that. That partnership up front of Rashford and Højlund, it did not look like it worked today. It did not at all look like it worked today. And obviously, still early days. And of course, like I was saying before, what do you really expect a team of forwards to do when they're having anywhere from 30 to sort of 40% max of the ball, and most of it is being held in the final and middle and first thirds of your pitch? What do you expect Rashford and Højlund to do when they didn't get to see much of the ball in any dangerous areas? And that comes from the poor build-up play, which is obviously, again, a tactical, but also, I must be fair and honest, it is also a personal issue. So for anyone thinking that it is entirely on Ten Hag, it is not. Let's not do that, yeah? Let's not do that. Because when I see Hannibal over and under hitting passes, unable to beat a man, unable to transition the ball from back to front, are we really going to look at Ten Hag when I see McTominay hiding again? Unable to get on the ball, unable to switch play, move the ball forward, drive through midfield, play a simple pass? How do you expect Rashford and Højlund to get any sort of service, or even Bruno, who's meant to be number 10, knitting all these things together, when they get none of the ball in any decent area of the pitch? Because the guys behind them aren't able to find them. I'm just being honest, guys. I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be like rude or overdo anything here, but it is just not good enough. And trust me when I say, Man United, if things don't change swiftly, we are in for a bruising versus Man City. I am worried, terrified. Hide your keys, hide your kids, hide your wives. Come that game. Because best believe, it could be another 4, 5, 6. And unlike what Man City have done in other games where they've sort of scored to conserve their energy, sat back and sort of tried to just maintain themselves, maintain their energy, because obviously they win every game pretty much. So they're going to have a long season. They're going to be in every single tournament. So they want to save some energy. Against Man United, City rivals, you think they're not going to stay back? Haaland, Foden, Doku, the first Manchester derby, these guys will all be looking and out for blood. The minute Man City circle, the Blue Sharks are going to be out there smelling. blood. They know we're vulnerable right now, and they're going to go for that knockout blow because it's Man United. So if we don't shape things up, we could be looking at another scoreline that's just makes you your eyes want to bleed. But now we're going to briefly have a conversation about some of the other players involved. Main one I want to highlight is Reguilon. So Reguilon obviously went off injured in and around sort of between the 70th and 80th minute, I believe. Someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. About 70th to 80th minute. Now, before the match even started, this was in my pre-game build-up. Obviously, you can see that part, just to make sure I'm not lying. I promise you I ain't lying. In the pre-match build-up, before the match started, I mentioned the fact that other than the fact that Hannibal and McTominay starting in a midfield diamond, when I know they're not capable of playing that system, is an issue. The fact that we are playing fullbacks in a system that causes you and forces the fullbacks to work harder than in a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever, 5-back formation. You're forcing your fullbacks to work even harder because there's no natural wingers. We are going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble because we're going to have to make more recovery runs, more overlapping and underlapping runs. We don't have a left back available and fit and firing and ready to replace Reguilon, and we don't have a right back who's also ready to replace AWB. Sorry, to replace Dalot in AWB. So what happened today? Reguilon's making a recovery run. He's on the line now to try to block a shot. The shot doesn't go anywhere. But what does he do? He pulls his hamstring. Earlier on in the game, just before that, I saw him overstretch, reaching for a pass. At the time, he didn't get injured, but who knows? Maybe that's when the first bit of damage was done. I remember saying it on the stream that, see that players normally at times, when they overstretch like that, you can see them pull up on their hamstring. I reckon that's when the damage was done. He makes another intense run to try to block a shot on goal. What does he do? Pulls the hamstring now, and that's no left back. And the sad thing now, it's a twofold problem, yeah? It's a twofold problem. Dalot is going to be forced to now play left back, and Amrabat, the midfielder that we were meant to bring in, who was one of the best passers in Fiorentina and the Serie A last season, playing a lot of passes forward, which we need right now. We're struggling to get the ball moved from back to front to give our strikers and attackers the ball in good areas. The player we brought in to help solve that issue and add physicality and bite to the midfield is now going to have to get moved out to right back, then Dalot goes to left back. So when we've managed to somewhat look like we solved one problem in terms of Amrabat's fitness issues, the problem just rears its head again and it just switches. Now we have to play Amrabat right back. We can't catch a break. And of course, it's nice to say that Amrabat's a versatile player, so it means that, he can cover that position. But at the same time, he was brought in for a specific job that we needed desperately. And now, all of a sudden, he's gone again. He might as well not be playing. We sort of got almost a glimpse. Obviously, it's different when you defend on the opposite side to what foot you have. But we saw a slight glimpse as to how potentially he defends on the width. Because look at the tackle he attempted to make on their fullback and kissing that free kick in the dying moments of the game. He's not a natural fullback. Obviously, it didn't help him being on the left, so we'll have to see what he does on the right hand side of the defense. But it's not his position, and it's not good to see a new signing come in and potentially be shunted out of position immediately. How do you gain confidence, especially if the performances aren't the best, be played out of position when you just came to the club and he's already in turmoil, and you then now have to play out of position to begin your stint in the Man United squad? How does that make sense? When it rains, it pours at Man United. That's been the slogan. I've been saying it for a while now. When it rains, it pours, and we're seeing it again. Cannot catch a break. Move on slightly. So if we talk about Johnny Evans, obviously he was in the squad today because of the absence of Licha. So Licha went off, and typically when Licha doesn't play, we see a big difference in Man United's overall performance. That cannot be overstated enough. Inability again to move the ball from forward line into midfield. Imagine the spine of the team. It should literally be like the circuit of, or the series of nerves that run through the spine of the body, connecting your lower part of the body to the brain. To the bottom to the top. And with Man United, there's constant short circuits because we don't have that player who's the synapse that can bridge the gap between the different portions of our team. You guys like that analogy, yeah? So Leach is the one synapse, the guy that moves it that's able to bridge the defense to the midfield. Players like a Casemiro when he's on his job, or players like an Amrabat who's coming now, is another player that's the other synapse who can bridge the gap between the midfield to the attack this time. When you don't have these key players in these positions, you're always going to struggle. We're playing a right-footed 35-year-old relegated centre-back in Evans in left centre-back position. I expected him to do work. Of course, the assist was great, and obviously I have to commend him for that. It was a great ball to Bruno, and Bruno finished his shot majestically. And I'm very happy for that. Very happy about the win. I'm just commenting on the game in isolation before anyone starts to think that I'm over-exaggerating a win. But performance matters, especially when you play against the lesser teams. Speak on Lindelof. It was quite an average performance, frankly, from Lindelof. He was all right. Didn't do anything particularly bad, but he was quite poor at times, quite wasteful on the ball. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This Lindelof being great on the ball thing is heavily overstated from United fans, just because in the past we've seen him play good long balls and Rashford has finished it. I believe Bruno, remember when he scored that hat-trick versus Leeds, I think he had a great ball from Lindelof and then he finished it on the volley. Lindelof has the capability of playing a great lofted through ball into the forward players, and in a situation where he's even got an assist from it, which is obviously all well and good. But in terms of consistent application of good playing out from the back, Lindelof doesn't really have that. At times seems a little bit slow on the ball, at times a little bit panicked, and he doesn't actually pass the ball with as much zip anywhere near what Leacher does. But people almost talk about Lindelof like he's near Leacher's level on the ball, which he's not. For me, he's got Varane beaten in the long game, but on the ground, Varane's very comfortable. He doesn't waste time in the pass. I'm not saying he's I don't know, he's a Kim Min-jae or a Van Dijk on the ball. No. But he's very composed on the ball. Left foot, right foot, keeps it simple, moves the ball very quick. One touch if he can. Dalot, poor at times defensively, gave up a yellow card very well. I must say, of course, he did a good job to recover, was very careful, did not concede another yellow card, potentially get a sending off. He didn't look anywhere near getting another yellow card during the game, which of course it would have been trying to target him to get him sent off. But he did very well to keep his head, keep the composure, and continue playing his game without much issues. So Dalot did okay in that sense to basically maintain his ability to stay on the pitch. I mean, we have no one else. If he went off as well, but this time for a red card, it would have been just, you might as well just pack up and go at that point because we're dusted. So it's good to see him maintain the composure. Going forward, good on the ball, dribbled past players well, but again, the final ball from Dalot was severely lacking. A lot of his fanboys that glaze him, they have this sort of thought process that this guy is some, rebirth of Cafu, a right back who, Dalot better AWB because the ball's in, he's crossing, he's better, his ability to get past me. Bro, Dalot, yeah, this guy, he's pretty good defensively and he's pretty good going forward. He's in this halfway house that makes it sometimes difficult to praise him, difficult to judge him. At his best, he's good enough to be Man United's starting right back, and we saw that during the run into the World Cup last season. But this year, and after the World Cup, he's regressed again. So, as much as AWB for me is not good for this system, should not be Man United starting right back, I would rather keep him at the end of the day, just for the simple fact that at least he has an elite level weapon in his locker, which could be useful in certain fixtures. Dalot's too inconsistent, so his best qualities rarely show themselves on the pitch. Whereas AWB, in that one elite aspect of his game, the one we want defending, it always shows itself on the pitch. So in certain games, that's a weapon you can use. And elite level players need to be judged on their weapons. At least AWB has a weapon that can be used tactically. What weapon does Dalot have that can be used tactically? Why don't you guys answer that question for yourself? It's an okay performance from Dalot. Casemiro, a little bit better today than in previous games in terms of didn't get bypassed as much. Didn't really, wasn't too wasteful on the ball today compared to previous matches. Quite frankly, he didn't even get a lot of the ball because we barely held possession. It was okay from Casemiro. There's nothing I would really call him out on particularly. There's a couple of times he got bypassed in midfield, but you're not going to win every single one of your ground duels. And especially when you're being partnered by dossers left and right of you. What are you really expecting from that? McTominay shouldn't be playing for Man United. Should not be playing for this club. It just shouldn't. That needs to stop there. McTominay playing for this club. It needs to stop. I'm getting very tired of seeing it. And it's becoming a recurring theme now. The guys in midfield hiding. The guy thinks he's playing, the guy thinks he's floating. He basically thinks he's a floater. Man hides in the referee's shadow and floats around the pitch. Ghosting. This guy, I don't know. Please, anyone at Man United watching this video, I can be paid. I'll take 10k a week. You don't have to pay me 70 or whatever McTominay's on. I'll take 10k a week to do his job. I'll get my fitness up and I'll float around and ghost. I can do that. I'll do it for less than McTominay. Poor today, didn't offer anything going forward at all. Lost out on a lot of duels, which he's meant to be good at. Didn't do anything going forward. Had an opportunity to strike the ball on the edge of the box. Was poor. Just overall, you can tell his heart's not really in it compared to how he used to be in the past. And irrespective of whether his heart's in it, he's just not good enough. Hannibal, at the very end of the game, he started to grow into the game slightly and looked a bit better. But at the beginning of the game, off and nothing was woeful, under-hitting and over-hitting passes. We basically started off this game with half our midfield being either lower Premier League or high Championship caliber of players. So sort of players that are in and around the bottom half of the Premier League table or players that are in the promotional zone for the Championship. That's the caliber of midfielders we started today. Half of them. So of course exclude Casemiro and Bruno, but the other two were Championship level ballers. Rashford and Højlund didn't get a lot of service. We're both wasteful at times. We have to be even-handed. We can't just absolve Højlund of any blame at all. There were some moments where he sort of underhit a pass slightly, and I feel like if he had, for example, given that ball to Rashford a little bit better, Rashford may have had an opportunity to score. So you don't know. That's a little bit of quality lacking in the final third, that bit of precision, which obviously he'll need to get more into the game. But overall, I did see some good things as well. The fact that we now have a striker that can obviously win balls in the air, is very physical, can win a flick on. It's useful in our own box as well, defending corners. But the sad thing is, look at the things I'm reeling off. I'm not talking about anything in terms of, I haven't seen enough of his ability to strike the ball, because he never gets the ball in good areas to strike the ball from. We do not create enough chances for our striker, a recurring theme for Man United. It's still going, it's still going, it's still going. It's not changed. The fullback get an opportunity to cross. Wasted crosses, and even if the cross does come in, the type of cross selection is poor. Dalot lofting aimless, floated balls into the box that haven't been whipped with any power, that someone can attack that ball. A striker like Højlund with his pace and aggression, if you're flashing balls across that box or with a decent amount of height and good pace on it, he can attack that. Fast, he's powerful, can bully nearly any defender and get to that ball first. People putting these lofted balls, half-assed balls into the box that are a lot of the time even off target. What do you want? He's working off scraps. Rashford as well, he was okay at times. He was a little bit better as an overall performance compared to some of the dross we've seen from him recently. So I won't get onto him too much. He was much less selfish in this game as well, which I actually very much liked. I was happy about the fact that he was less selfish, but at times I did think that he was almost unselfish to a fault. I hope it's not a situation where he's currently thinking in his mind that, oh no, there's a lot of talk of me not passing the ball, so I'm going to almost overdo it and pass the ball in situations where I should have actually held onto the ball and actually gone for a shot. So that then comes to the decision-making aspect. You should be able to formulate the right plan of action at this level of football, instead of worrying about what the media are going to say about you, that you're too greedy, this and that, whatever. Just play the game how it's supposed to be played, how you know it should be played. Is it time to shoot? Yes. Is it time to pass? Do it. Simple. Yes, you can get some decisions wrong, but it's about consistently doing the right thing over the wrong thing. It was a bit better today, but we need a lot more from Rashford. And also, last point on Rashford, the shot selection from him, I believe, is not good enough. Gets into decent situations that with using the right shot selection, he can actually work the goalkeeper. Bro, stop hitting everything with the laces. Not every shot needs to be a knuckleball or an instep drive. Bro, sometimes when you open up your body and there's a gap between defenders, curl it. Side foot, finesse into the top, bottom right corner, whatever. Just do it, fam. It's not every day slap the ball. If his shot selection improves, he would score so many more goals. Because he'd be able to trouble the keeper in many more ways. He'd be able to expose defense in ways that he currently doesn't know how to, because he doesn't change the way he shoots. Far too easy to deal with. We talk about Burnley. The players that actually caused us quite a lot of trouble, and is being a recurring theme at the moment, is Koleosho, who you see here, number 30. Abduni at times causes problems, and Ramsey also caused United problems. And what do these three players I've just named have in common in terms of attributes? All quite small, all pretty quick, all pretty agile, and are all good ball carriers. Koleosho in the early parts of the game cooked Dalot, got him on a yellow card nice and early within 13 minutes. Ramsey, I saw him at times bypassing our midfield, similar to, obviously very diluted in comparison in terms of quality overall, but similar to what Musiala was doing against us for Bayern. Ramsey at times was picking up that midfield and walking past 1-2 midfielders. Abduni, similar sort of thing. Saw him bypass midfielders a lot. And of course, the difference being, whereas Bayern can do those pretty sequences of football where they're bypassing midfielders, direct, running through the midfield. But then the difference between the levels of clubs and players is they had the end product. And that's where Burnley was sorely lacking today. Honestly speaking, for all the ball they had, what did they actually create? The lack of quality is the reason they didn't win this game, not because we outperformed them as a team. If some of their players were better finishers, in certain moments had a better first touch, in certain moments were able to hit the right pass with a good amount of weight, they win this match easily. Comfortably, they would have beaten us. They had enough of the ball. They had enough of the ball in decent enough areas to trouble us slightly. Maybe put a good cross. But they just lack so much quality. And that's why I was confident before the game that Man United would win this game. Again, not because we're great, because they're bad. Simple. I looked at their team and I thought, oh, who am I worried about? Absolutely no one. So you know what? United will win. I kidded myself into thinking that we were going to be better than I thought. We would get a response and we would go out there, have a great performance and win 3-0. I actually went for a 3-0 prediction. Foolish of me to think that Man United were capable of actually scoring 3 goals away from home. I know he did it versus Bayern, but clearly that was just a flash in the pan. Had a couple of other decent players. It just peaked. Like, look at these names. I mean, I don't want to be rude, guys, but I'm not trying to be rude. Brownhill, Cullen, Taylor, Bayard, Dakhil, Roberts. If these men get put on the transfer market, who's coming in for them? Well, who's coming in for them? I don't know. Forest? Probably not. I mean, Forest signed a better caliber of players than these guys these days. They tried to put a cheeky bid for Amrabat during the summer. They're going to go for these guys. Pretty much no Premier League team buys any of the midfielders or defenders named in this starting lineup for Burnley. A couple of the attackers could get a move. Maybe a Koleosho, he looked good. The guy that came on, who can't remember his name, but he played for Genk, has a high number of assists. One of the highest number of assists in Europe, I believe, last season. So the right winger, the left winger, maybe they're forward, maybe they're centre attacking midfield as well. Ramsey, these players might be able to get a move to an okay club in the Premier League, but the rest of their team behind are poor. Yet they were able to dominate the ball in the middle third, and in the back line. So of course you have to look at the manager then. Why is a team of Burnley's caliber able to do that? And yes, McTominay and Hannibal aren't good enough, but they were playing in and around players that were also of a lower level. So why weren't they able to shine through? That to me appears like a tactical issue then. And potentially a coaching issue. But like I said in the beginning, and I'll reiterate it, I'm not going to go too far because I want to see the players he's bought, Ten Hag, starting in their best positions for at least a game or two or three before I start to fully judge. And luckily we've got a few matches that are all winnable, should be all wins in my opinion. Galatasaray and a double header against Crystal Palace. We go into these games, bleed in the guys that have had injury concerns. Mino should be back, Malacia should be back potentially at some point, Mount and Amrabat, and start to put the new signings into this pitch and see if there's a change. And if there's no change, then we can really start looking at this manager sideways potentially. And maybe I could say I don't want to do that. Don't really want to do that. But that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. And also, if we could potentially get a situation where in tandem with the return of the new players, we get an announcement, for example, of Qatar coming in. Qatar come in, new players come back in to the starting lineup as well. For me, we now can have a situation for the first time in a long time. United fans in unison can just, for example, push the issue of owners to one side because we've got new ones. Injury concerns are out the way. So now we can just have binocular focus just on Ten Hag and be like, yo, bro, let's see now. We've got the structure ahead of you. Got the new owners. You've got your players back. Go play ball. And if the football don't improve, the results aren't good, then we're free to cook him as much as we want without any reservations about what's going on around the club. And that's a situation I'm waiting for. Right now, I believe it's unfair for anyone to be fully jumping on the Ten Hag out brigade. Criticize him as much as you need to for performances. I believe he definitely needs some, especially after today, against this level of club. But in overall grand scheme of things, he still needs to be given some opportunity to sort out the team, play style, and the injury concerns. We scumbag the win, highway robbery, and if you guys read The Highwayman before, that's essentially what we did on the pitch. I'm thinking of, you know, those movies where the bank robbers wearing the black and white sort of prison strips and they got the bandana on covering their eyes. That's basically what we did today. I can just see our players walking out of Turf Moor holding brown bags with cash inside. Absolute robbery. That's the depiction I've got right now, but I'll take it. Scumbag the win, and I don't give a shit. We take it. Performance was poor, needs to improve, but I believe it can improve. That's my match reaction. Look forward to the North London derby tomorrow. I'll be covering that on here as well. Be an interesting opportunity for us to see whether Bruno has now been surpassed, as a lot of people believe, by Maddison and or Odegaard. Be a nice watch to see who the best 10 is in the Premier League. Look forward to watching that. Signing off. Say United Enigma. We need to improve.